Hey there, y'all. My name is Jason Ames with Final Start Fitness. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about really the fact that a lot of times people think that I'm against carbohydrates because I'm a really big fan of the ketogenic diet. And what that is it's a very high fat diet. And so if you're not familiar with what a ketogenic diet is, or maybe you're new to that, basically it's where your body, most of us are used to using sugar for energy. So our body can either use fat or it can use sugar. And if you could get to where your body was primarily using fat as its main energy source, that'd be pretty cool, right? Well, that's essentially what the ketogenic diet is where your body makes this adaptation to where it goes from primarily using glucose or sugar for energy, and it switches over to using fat. Now, there's a lot of reasons why you might want to do that, and I would love to get into why that is. And basically, hopefully you'll kind of feel the same way I do, but if not, no big deal. But what I wanted to clarify is that there's a lot of different diets out there, and a lot of them work in different ways, and you ultimately got to figure out what works best for you, right? I mean, if you feel like you can do something and it works, and you can just make it work into your lifestyle, and you're going to be more prone to do it, then by all means you should do that. I've tried where I've eaten a higher protein, higher carbohydrate diet with more of a low fat, and it really worked well for me. But there was also some things that the reasons why I kind of switched over to using a high fat diet, a ketogenic diet, and again I'll go into that. But what happens is, I think it's more important to think about like using carbs, using your more of the what type of quality of food that you're eating, and the times or the nutrient timing is a lot more important. All carbohydrates in the same bucket, all proteins and all fats are all in the same bucket. No. There's a lot of processed horrible fats out there. There's a lot of processed horrible proteins as well as carbohydrates. So when it comes to a higher carbohydrate diet, what I think it's more important to think of is using carbohydrates more of like in a smart way, or what they call smart carbs, where you can use them primarily around your workouts to really boost your energy. But the reason why I kind of switched from a more of a high protein carbohydrate diet to a higher fat is because the reason why I coach people for weight loss is I really think it's a little bit more practical in their lives, and then you also have a lot of different metabolic factors, actually metabolic stimuluses and things that changes in your body that are really favorable for your metabolism. And particularly as far as the practical reasons is, when you're eating a lot of carbohydrates, you have blood sugar that's going up and down. So your insulin is spiking every time that you eat. And so it causes you to have to, basically where you're hungry, about every 2 to 4 hours, every time that blood sugar comes down, you're going to stimulate more hormones like ghrelin. That's going to cause you to want to eat again. And this is just because when blood sugar comes down, your body wants to bring that blood sugar back up to normal. So you're eating a lot more often, every maybe 6 to 8 times every 3 to 4 hours. So that means you're cooking a lot more meals. You have to prep a lot more meals. You're also eating very lean cuts of protein, which is like lean chicken. So it's not always easy just to come across lean meats unless you're actually prepping and making a lot of these foods at home, which is very, very time consuming. So if you're like me, you have a family, you have work, you have other responsibilities in the evening, you got take your kids to the games, so forth, you get it. If you have a family, you totally understand what I mean. And a lot of us don't have time to be making a ton of meals and eating 6 to 8 times a day. That's a lot of time being consumed. So for that practical reason, it makes more sense in a way if you could restrict and actually maybe, if you were able to eat like once, maybe twice a day and feel totally satiated and get the calories in that you need in them 2 meals, that would be awesome, right? Like you could get a lot of your time back to do some of the things that you want. So that's one of the reasons why I think maybe switching over to the higher fat diet is important for practical reasons, because when you're eating a lot more higher fat, your body switches over to primarily using fat for energy. So what you do is you stabilize your blood sugar from going up and down, which cuts out a lot of the cravings and where you're hungry all the time. It keeps you satiated longer. So fat's very calorically dense, so it's a way that you can get a lot of your calories in all in one meal, and it keeps you full almost all throughout the day. So you may only want to eat once, twice a day, and then your body switches over to where you're starting to burn stored fat. So if your body's using stored fat, you're not going to be hungry as often. That's great news, right? So you're actually probably going to get less calories in a day doing it that way, while getting a lot of the calories that you need in as well. So again, practical reasons are very, very important, but for metabolic changes, it's really great too. Excuse me if you hear the beeper going off. I had something going. Anyways, for metabolic reasons, it really ketogenic diets mimic being in a fasted state. So you have these great metabolic changes that go on in your body. You have cell apoptosis, which is when you have programmed cell death, all these really bad dying cells that are secreting some bad endotoxins. They end up dying off. You have an upregulation of mitochondrial biogenesis in the cell, which basically means you produce more mitochondria inside the burn energy, right? So if you can burn more energy, you have more mitochondria, you burn more energy, you're gonna burn more fat. You also regulate insulin, so you become more insulin sensitive. So the carbs that you do eat, you're gonna be more sensitized to those carbs, right? It also helps downregulate inflammation around the cell membranes and inside the gut lining and so forth. And then you have also, on top of that, you have these ketone bodies are acting as epigenetic signals to your genes inside the cell. So basically what that means is that a lot of times we have these genetic responses. If your cell is doing a function, expressing itself in a certain way, your gene is actually being expressed in a good or negative way. Well, these ketone molecules are turning on good genes and they're turning off some of the bad genes that are causing maybe some chronic disease and things of that nature. So there's so many more reasons why, as far as metabolically, you might want to go down and just learn a little bit more about the ketogenic diet. But I think for the most part, just getting your body to burn fat better, utilizing fat as energy is a great thing. But also, just remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach, and there's no just one diet. And I think we all agree that we need a healthy, we need to get more vegetables in our diet, especially for our microbiome. Our microbiome plays such a role in regulating hormones, our insulin, our cells, our insulin, and all these signaling molecules that go on inside of our gut and our whole body. Our microbiome is regulating that. So, and our microbiome needs good sources of vegetables that's high in fiber. So I think we all agree that we need to get a well-balanced amount of healthy vegetables. There's good sources of fats. Let's not attack just like carbohydrates by themselves or fats or proteins. Let's look at it all in context. A lot of people, I think what we see a lot of times in health and anything we do, we tend to get a certain bias about of something that we believe, and then we look for things that support our bias, and there's a recent video that just came out called What the Health, and they were just attacking fat like it was the end all be all, and the problem with our cholesterol problems and our bad health and having cancer and all these different diseases. But in reality, they really didn't take any of it in real context. They didn't talk about the quality of meats, the high processed toxins that are in those meats and dairy, and they didn't take in context with the high processed carbohydrates that are added in with these fats. So the combination of them two are really bad for your physiology too, because when insulin and blood sugar is really high, it blocks the transporters that transport fat into the cell to get used as energy. So then that fat gets stored up back into the bloodstream. You have cholesterol problems and so on. So you have to take all these things into context when you're looking at any diet. So whether you're a vegan, whether you're a paleo, whether you're ketogenic, whether you take more of a high protein, carbohydrate, lower fat type of diet, you just have to look at all these things in context and really apply, like, what am I really trying to accomplish, and then what's practical in my life. And so that's the things and the reasons why I like to refer my clients that are trying for weight loss to use the ketogenic diet. As you do that and you actually become more metabolically flexible and you lose weight, then you can start to add some more of them carbohydrates back into your diet a little bit more, and as well as even while you're on the ketogenic diet, you can actually take carbohydrates and use them around your workouts. Again, nutrient timing, and you actually be able to boost them workouts through the workout using the carbohydrates in your glycolytic pathway. And then when you're done with your workout, it just gets used up in the muscle, and then you start to burn more fat again. See, it's all about nutrient timing, the right types of foods, in context, and putting it all together. I hope all this made sense. My name is Jason Dames, and we just wanted to bring that video to you today to make sure that you understand I'm not against carbs, and I'm all for eating high quality foods that just God made, if that makes sense. So have a great day. Hope this helped you. If this did help you, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook. We would appreciate if this is helping you, and if you can share it with some of your friends, that would be awesome. So I hope you have a great day, and God bless you.